Welcome everybody to the Short Sports Show. I'm your host Daniel Short. Today is Monday, September 21st, 2015, and we haven't said Monday in a long time for us for college football for this show. I'm already losing words here. How's everybody doing? I know it's a later show. Most of y'all download the podcast anyway, so I guess it really doesn't matter that it was a little bit later. Again, I have school. Today was the first day of school for me. Starting classes, of course, online. As a sophomore now. As a sophomore. Moving up in the world, ladies and gentlemen. Moving up in the world. Gotta do things on your own sometimes. Just gotta do it. Anyways, we got a lot to talk about. College football. Again, what Monday shows consist of and what they're going to be is not really the same, because obviously it's going to, we're going to be talking about what happens during the weekend. We're going to recap the NFL Week 2, even though tonight there is a game with the Indianapolis Colts and the New York Jets. That happens later tonight on Monday Night Football, ESPN. And I think that's it for Week 2 for NFL. We recap Week 3, and I am sucking at picks right now. My dad has beat me again this week in college football picks. I don't understand. I mean, okay, this is where I went wrong. All right, let's just recap real quick on Week 3 of what I picked, and then we're gonna go and talk about a whole lot of other stuff. This is what went wrong. I started off strong. I picked Clemson. He picked Louisville, so I was like, all right, that's fine, whatever. I got Clemson. Started off good. This is where it all went wrong right here. I picked Tulsa to bring the upset, to have the upset for Tulsa to get the victory. That went right straight to the ground. Just stupid. Then I also picked UTSA to beat Oklahoma State for the upset. Boy, was I wrong with that. I also picked Georgia Tech to beat Notre Dame, and I picked USC to beat Stanford. That didn't happen. An absolute just terrible decisions on my end. Who really could have? Well, my dad had picked Stanford to beat USC. I don't know where he saw it coming, but he just knew. I don't know. I think my dad's cheating. I don't know. So I'm throwing that away. I don't want to ever look at that piece of paper again. I'm now 0-2. We've already got our picks set, but I won't let you guys know my picks until Friday, of course, when we have the Short Sports Show again on Friday. Real quick, follow me on Twitter at @short_sports247. Got some really great news though, guys. I will be getting back my computer finally, my desktop computer that has been, gone since, because remember my motherboard crashed and it died and I had to send it off, and they finally went sending. They fixed it. Now they're sending it back. It should be here tomorrow. So, for Friday's show, I'll have everything set up, including some new things to add to this show. And I'm just really excited, guys. We'll have my computer back. It'll be much better. So that way I can go back on YouTube, do the videos I was doing, and a little bit more stuff that I was planning on doing before my computer died. So that's some really, really good news. I don't know where to start off right now. We're going to start with college football news first. I know that for sure. I just don't know whether we should go through scores or should we do the top 25. I think we're going to start with the AP top 25. We're going to talk about that for just a little bit. And then we'll recap some of the games, talk about those, what our predictions are for kind of in the future. Not too much predictions, because that's really what Friday's show consists of. And then I guess we'll switch over to the NFL. Okay, yeah. All right. We're going to go with the AP top 25. If I can pull it up on here for me, please. Top 25. Really? Now it doesn't want to show up? All right. Looks like we're going to be reviewing some games. Oh, AP college football. Hold on. ESPN. Why do y'all do this to me? Really? I just had it on. Okay, so this is where we become this. Okay, actually, we got it. We got it right here, guys. Don't worry. I got it for you. Alrighty, so here we go. The 1 through 10 AP college football poll. This is now for this upcoming week, for week 4 of college football. We have Ohio State as number 1, even though they struggled against Northern Illinois. They won by 7 points against Northern Illinois. 20-13 was the final score. They remain number 1, which is really not shocking. I understand they struggled. Everybody struggled this week. I don't think there's one team that was a top team that did not struggle, other than maybe Georgia and LSU. Everybody else struggled. So we got, Michigan State, they struggled for a little bit. They kept it close with Air Force, which I think we all kind of knew that was going to be a close game. We were talking about it on Friday on how, the triple option to keep up with that in such a short week and train your players for it. It's a challenge in a short week. So not really surprised, but I would have thought Michigan State would have, probably topped the 40-45 mark on their offense. I think they could have scored a little bit more, but it could also have been a respect thing. You don't want to blow out your Air Force, Navy, and all the other academies. You don't really want to blow them out. But anyways, it's Ohio State number 1, Michigan State number 2, and then the interesting part, we have a tie for number 3, which is Ole Miss and TCU. A little bit shocking. Not on Ole Miss's part. I knew they were going to jump. I honestly, you guys might have saw my tweet. I had Ohio State number 1. Did I? I don't know. I got to go look at my tweet in a little bit. You guys can go check it out. Anyways, I had Ole Miss jumping into the top 5. I think everybody knew Ole Miss was going to jump to the top 25. The top 5. And I think it's a smart call. First 2 games they played at FCS school, and then they put a whooping on Fresno State. Each time they scoring over 70 points. Then you play on the road at Alabama, who jumped up to number 2 the past couple weeks. And you crushed them. You dominate them. Kind of let them back in the end, but you still did your job, and you basically controlled the entire game. And you made Alabama fans leave the stadium with 9 minutes left to go in the game. They were basically the Miami Heat back in the playoffs a few years ago. So you forced them to leave. That's strong. That is strong. That alone puts you in the top 5. Anyway, so Ole Miss, very well deserving of being up there. The crazy part is, I'm guessing, even though it's a tie, I think they would really have if the playoffs ended right now, I don't think it would have been a tie. I think they would have settled it somehow. But it's interesting to see. But I think Ole Miss would have been number 3 by itself, and the TCU being number 4. Which would have set Ohio State TCU in the first playoff game, and Michigan State Ole Miss. 2 very exciting games right there. Very, very exciting games. Of course, Ohio State, Michigan State, I do believe played sometime this year. If not in a championship game, they'll face each other. My thing is, I honestly thought TCU was going to drop lower. And I think the only reason they didn't drop any lower was because of the fact that everybody struggled this week. Of course, Baylor had an off week, so they're number 5. Let's finish the rankings. Number 6 is Notre Dame. Number 7, Georgia. 8, LSU. UCLA at 9. Florida State at 10. And then finally, if I can... Okay, my phone's bugged out. Really? Okay, hold on. Wow, what is going on? Phone? Jesus. Okay. It was kind of being weird. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the top 10 then, because now my phone doesn't want to... There we go. Thank you. Number 11, Clemson. I'm sorry, guys. This is all terrible put together now. Clemson at number 11. And then Alabama drops from 2 to 12. Oregon, Texas A&M, Oklahoma at 15. Arizona, Northwestern, Utah, USC, and Georgia Tech rounding up the top 20. Like I said, going back to the top 5, I really thought TCU would have dropped just because we lost another player. That now makes 8 total defensive starters, or should be starters, now out this season due to injury, and one because he was a crybaby and quit. So, that's huge. That's huge in itself. And had TCU finished the game like they're supposed to, with what the final score should have been of a 56-17 ball game, they let them back, and the final score was 56-37. That was what was concerning. Had they blown out SMU 56-17, there's no doubt in my mind TCU would have been 3 by itself. I don't think you could have tied Ole Miss. I know SEC fans and Ole Miss fans are gonna go after me about that, but and I'm not being biased here. I really thought TCU was gonna drop out of the top 5 all alone because of this performance. I guess it was the week to struggle. This was the week to do it. Had we played Tech like we're going to this week, had we played Tech and this was the final score, I think we still would have been number 3 by ourselves. Because we now know Tech looks pretty good. Haven't really played anybody other than Arkansas now, but Arkansas also lost to Toledo at home, so we don't really know who Arkansas is either. But it looks like Texas Tech is kind of good. SMU is obviously in there to hang around with with Baylor and TCU now, but we really were dominating them. It was 42-17. And next thing you know, final score is 56-37. You can't have that happen. But it did. TCU is now tied number 3 with Ole Miss. And again, we're going to go through predictions and future schedules on Friday's show. So we'll be more in depth on how it's going to look come Friday. Obviously, anything, and hopefully nothing. Anything can happen between after this show and Friday morning when we do the next show. So I don't want to get into much predictions and who's going to move where in the top 10, 5, or whatever, because anything can change. And I really don't want to mess with that right before we have to do our show anyways. So, but yeah, that's the top 20 right there. It's all that really matters. I was really disappointed to see TCU come, be like that. But it was what a great game it was between Alabama and Ole Miss. And it shows Ole Miss can score a ton of points. I mean, they are very good. Now, granted, one of those touchdowns, which was the craziest touchdown of them all, was when Chad Kelly dropped the snap while he was in shotgun, picked it up, about to get hit by 2 Alabama players, tossed it up in the air. A terrible decision that just gave him a great reward, so it doesn't look like a terrible decision, but it was. He just tossed it up in the middle of the field, and it was tipped by one of the Ole Miss wide receivers, I believe also by an Alabama DB, and then fell in the hands of an Ole Miss wide receiver who ended up running it all the way for a touchdown. Makes it look great, makes everything look like Ole Miss, oh, what a great play, Ole Miss. Chad Kelly did amazing. It was a very stupid decision because that easily and most likely should have been intercepted. Or, swat it down. Obviously, it was not. So I'm not saying that would have changed the whole game, but, we got to make sure we all look at everything here. But Ole Miss, obviously, offensively, is a ton better. They really are. Bo Wallace was a good quarterback, but Chad Kelly is showing he is a very dynamic quarterback and is doing a really great job with this system. Remember, he was at Clemson. Had to sit behind Taj Boyd and Deshaun Watson and said, I got to go somewhere where I got a chance to play. Ole Miss, it looked kind of shaky in the beginning with the spring game and other practices. It doesn't look like he was really that good. And now he knows what he's doing, somewhat, other than that terrible throw that got a huge reward out of it. But Ole Miss looks definitely scary. Defense is right back there. You got Robert Kimdichie along with his brother Denzel. Scary guys. And man, if I was the parents of both of them, I'd just be like, we did a good job. We're about to have both of our sons. Not only are they top college players right now, obviously Denzel being the better one. Denzel being the better one. Robert, close enough. And you're about to have them within 1 to 2 year time span, both in the NFL, making some solid money. Because Denzel Kimdiji is going to be a top 5, top 10 pick guarantee. There's no question. So, and if his brother can do the same, obviously I think his brother's going to have to wait another year just really to set his own so he can get drafted higher. I think both of them are guaranteed first and second rounders. Obviously Denzel being a top 10, Robert being maybe in the second round just because of experience. But he stays another year at Ole Miss. Bam, you're first rounder. You produce the same thing. Just depends. But anyways, Ole Miss looks, to be on fire. Ohio State, it looks like they're the team that's going to slip. Ohio State looks like the team that will slip here pretty soon. Back-to-back weeks of terrible play at quarterback for all three of them. Braxton Miller even went in for a little bit, even though it's more of a hybrid, wildcat type thing he was doing. But JT and Cardale Jones not on the same page, just looking bad. And this is where that, dual quarterback system really starts to hurt you because of the timing. Receivers are going to be off a little bit because now you're switching through them mid-series of, in a mid-series. It's not really good. And so that's obviously looking bad on the quarterback as well. So with all that, Ohio State looks like a team's going to slip. Michigan State continues to dominate. TCU, I don't know. I'm as a TCU fan, I am a little bit worried. I'm worried that we might lose a couple games this year. This Tech game, see, my whole thing as a TCU fan, I don't ever want to lose to Texas Tech, to Texas, Oklahoma State, and Baylor. I don't ever want to lose to any of those 4 schools. If those were our only 4 wins every single year, that's a good year for me. I mean, obviously, I want the best. I want championships. I want undefeated seasons and all that, Big 12 championships, all that good stuff. But if we could beat those 4 teams every single year, including SMU, so 5, but we already beat SMU, I'm happy. I'm happy because I hate all of those teams. That's my whole thing. But I'm not going to be surprised if Tech ends up pulling this one out just because our defense is it's good, but it could have been even better and shutting out more offenses if we had those 8 players that should be playing. And granted, Chris Hackett, who was a top safety in the Big 12, and one of the top safeties in the Big 12, sorry, Carl Joseph, I don't want to get hit by you, that's for sure. Led the Big 12 last year in 7 interceptions, did a really good job. No idea that he was going to leave for the NFL draft. He doesn't even get drafted, signs with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't even know if he's with them. If he is, he's on the practice squad. Just a stupid decision by him to go. And if we had him on our defense, we feel more comfortable. But because of the way injuries have happened, maybe it was good for him. So that way, at least he's getting paid because right now it looks like he probably would have got hurt too because of all the injuries we've had. But I mean, if we had Chris Hackett, Derek Kindred, both of our top safeties back there, I feel comfortable because now we lost Ray Anthony Tejada, whatever. We lost him for the year. Torn ACL, done. Number 1 corner, number 2 overall DB, number 1 cornerback for us, our shutdown guy. He is out for the year. I mean, why is the injury bug hitting us so hard for what was going to be our perfect year? Why? I just want to know. Sorry, I had to go on a little rant. It just hurts as a TCU fan. So I'm not going to be surprised if we lose to Texas Tech. I'm going to keep rooting for TCU all the way through, but this offense can score. I think we should still keep that up-tempo, air raid offense, but let's run the ball a little bit more. Let's not pass, every single down where it becomes too predictable. We have great stable running backs. We average over 230-something yards rushing. We could average a little bit more if we kept running the ball. I think that's what we just need to do. I don't know. we'll just have to see how that goes. Again, we'll talk about more upcoming stuff on Friday's show. But yeah, to recap some of these games, let's go through some of the bigger games. Let's see. I have all FBS on here, so let's go top 25. Let's just go top 25, championship drive. And Missouri barely beating UConn. Really? Let's see. Again, Michigan State 35-21 over Air Force. Northwestern barely beating Duke 19-10. Oregon did a good job with Jeff Locke, 61-28 final score over Georgia State. Auburn, I told you guys, I'm so happy that I was right. Did I not say Auburn was the most overrated hype team in the country? Everybody was saying Jeremy Johnson, dark horse Heisman, terrible quarterback. And Auburn, they're projected to be the number 3 or 4th overall spot in the college football playoff. I mean, what did Sports Illustrated or somebody had the magazine cover that had Auburn in the top 4? And I don't think they had even TCU in the top 4. It's so funny because Auburn is absolutely garbage. They should have never won against Georgia or Jacksonville State. They lost the game. Auburn didn't win that game. Jacksonville State lost that game. And then they get crushed by LSU, which, granted, LSU is a pretty solid team, and they're going to jump in the rankings here pretty soon, depending on how they play against some other teams. But Auburn is bad. I mean, it's not like they're bad, but like they're terrible. It's just when so many people rated them so high, they're trash and terrible compared to those high rankings and all the hype they were given. I'm just glad to see that a lot of people that don't get the spotlight were right, because no one picked Auburn to be that high. I mean, you can't go 8-5 in a year, get blown out by a Wisconsin team in the bowl game that got blown out by Ohio State, and then be projected to make the college football playoff, have a Heisman contending quarterback, when there's so many questions around and you have nothing to back it up on, just because you're in the SEC. So does that mean Vanderbilt's the dark horse too? I'm just saying. Sorry, little rant. Notre Dame beat Georgia Tech. Solid game. Really good game to watch. Did not think Notre Dame's defense was going to be able to hold Georgia Tech under 30 points. They did. Final score 30-22. Y'all listen to the same guy that picked UTSA to beat Oklahoma State. Final score of that game was the Cowboys 69, Roadrunners 14. Whoops. Georgia dominates South Carolina 52-20. Stanford found how to play offense. They actually used their brains and looked up the word offense and said, "Oh, we got to score points." Silly me. That's all we got to do. We just got to get first downs and score some points, and we can win these games. How can we forget? They beat USC 41-31. USC's shot at making the playoffs down the drain. I don't think there's any way they make it. I know it's early. It's better to lose now. I think we all said that about Ohio State after they lost to Virginia Tech. Next thing you know, they're in and win it all. But 41 points to a team that didn't know how to score any points. That is bad. Of course, Ole Miss beats Alabama 43-37. I think that score was a lot closer than what the game really was. Just saying. UCLA beats BYU 24-23. Looked like BYU might have had a third chance at the Hail Mary, but did not get it. Utah beats Fresno State 45-24, and Arizona puts a licking on Northern Arizona 77-13. Absolute domination. And let's go ahead and go back for the NFL now. And now we got some things to really talk about here. Moving on to the NFL. We have the Seahawks. Let's talk about the Seahawks first. Now, I picked the Seahawks to beat Green Bay. That did not happen. Close game. And I'm not saying this defense needs Cam Chancellor. I think this is the same thing. Like, back to the Cowboys, and we'll get back to them, but everybody except for the Seahawks is really talking about Cam Chancellor. Now, when they're being asked, they're talking about him, but they're the only ones not really concerned with having Cam Chancellor on the field. They're concerned on fixing this defense and getting it better to win and put the offense in better spots to win these games. When the Cowboys, they didn't care about DeMarco Murray. They did not care. Everybody else around them did, but the Cowboys don't. And they went on and dominated the whole game and won. No shock. I don't understand how Philadelphia was favored in this game. I really don't. Philadelphia Eagles are not good. That simple. They are not a good team. Their defense they might as well call them toast because they can't keep up with any receiver. Had Dez Bryant was able to play, this game could have been a little bit worse. I think Dez would have gone on a little ham session. I think he would have just dominated that entire game. But the Eagles' defense is terrible. The offensive line is garbage. DeMarco Murray, also somewhat garbage. And Sam Bradford, garbage. Overall, the Philadelphia Eagles, ladies and gentlemen, garbage. It's that simple. It's that simple. But back to the Seahawks. I think they are focused more on trying to get what they need to do done first than focusing on Cam Chancellor. Now, I've already talked about Cam and how I felt about him. I like him as a player. I'd like him as a person. Slowly losing respect for him every single day. Already lost $2 million with this stupid holdout when he has 3 years on his deal and making good enough money. He's the one looking stupid. Now, most respected analysts out there are starting to say Cam Chancellor is the wrong one and not the Seahawks, which it's true. Cam is just being stupid. But the Seahawks have to find this, it's not time to panic for the Seattle Seahawks. It's not time for them to worry. It's not time for them to be down. You're 0-2. You play two really good teams. Both teams that, if the Rams weren't in your same division, and possibly the Rams could still make the playoffs. But, of course, Green Bay is going to be up there. They're Super Bowl, hopeful. And the Rams, they have it going. Well, I guess we can't really say. They lost to the Redskins this week. So we don't know who the Rams are. They play good against good teams, and then they just suck against sucky teams. But you know how it is. I don't think there's any time it's not time to panic. Now, if this game is close to next week's game against the Chicago Bears, which you have in CenturyLink, and if it's close or that's about it. If it's close. If it's a close game or you lose, then it's definitely time to panic in Seattle, Washington. It's a definite. Because the Chicago Bears, their secondary is bad. Their defense is bad. Marshawn Lynch and Jimmy Graham should have a monstrous day when they play the Chicago Bears. Again, we're trying to keep these predictions for later on, but I'm just saying it's not time to panic. If you're a Seahawks fan, which my cousin is, and I was telling him, this is not the time to panic. You already know the Seattle Seahawks are a second half team anyways. It's only it's going to be week 3. And you have basically a bye week this week when you play the Chicago Bears at home. Do what you got to do. This offense, it's going to get clicking. And maybe it's now. Maybe these are the 2 games you lose and you move on from there. Don't worry about what the Arizona Cardinals are doing. Don't worry about Cam Chancellor's situation. Worry about getting better each and every week and handling and dominating. And honestly, if I'm Pete Carroll and I'm any of the Seahawks players, I'm telling others, I'm saying, look, and I'm telling other teammates, this is the game we need to prove everyone and shut everybody up. I say Seahawks just go out there, put 40 points up on them, and they don't let up. They keep scoring at will. They keep going and going and going and going to make it a blowout game, kind of what the Steelers did to the 49ers yesterday. Just keep putting up points. and just put all your anger for these poor Bears. Chicago Bears, by the way. I don't want PETA or whatever coming at me think I'm talking about real bears. Don't hurt any baby bears. I love bears. But attack the Chicago Bears and just dominate them. All phases of the game. Just absolutely keep pounding the ball. Keep giving it to Marshawn Lynch, Fred Jackson, and whoever else the running backs are. I don't even know if they have Turbin anymore. I don't think they do. Hand it off to any of your running backs. Russell Wilson, find Jimmy Graham more than one catch. He can. That's another reason you're losing. Give Jimmy Graham more catches. Give him more opportunities. Do what he does, what he did and with the Saints. Move him out different spots, different routes. Get him out there. Get him going. And put Tyler Lockett out there on the field as well. Jet sweep, something. Get him going. But there's no need to panic in Seattle. No need to panic. Just dominate. And if Cam Chancellor finally grows up and says, okay, I'll come back to play, then you got a whole lot of hype around your team, and you're going to be in a good spot. But sadly, I don't see any of that happening for the Seattle Seahawks. So we'll just have to see. Moving on, we have, Broncos, and they did their part. Again, the Jets and the Indianapolis Colts played tonight on ESPN, 7:30 Central Time on ESPN. Chargers and the Bengals went at it, and I kind of knew this. I knew the Chargers defense was not good. I mean, the way we went down early in the first half of the Lions game 2 weeks ago in week 1, and now this game, the secondary isn't there. We need some help on the safety position. Thankfully, Eric Weddle is not holding out, but we definitely need some help at the safety position. Cowboys did their thing, like I was saying, but they did also lose quarterback Tony Romo. Going to be out possibly 8 to 10 weeks is what they're predicting. I'm already starting the campaign for Tim Tebow to the Dallas Cowboys. That is what I'm rooting for. I'm hoping Tim Tebow to the Dallas Cowboys. But Brandon Weeden, you had one job. You had one job, and that was to suck. And you did not do it. You went 7 for 7, 71 yards, and a touchdown against a trash defense of the Philadelphia Eagles. Final score 20-10. They close it out. But man, oh man, I want Tebow to go. Of course, Jerry Jones and some of the other Cowboys executives have said they're not going to go after any other quarterback or trade for anybody. I know there's rumors about, really just optimistic hopes that the Cowboys would talk to the Tennessee Titans and see if they can get Zach Mettenberger, see if they could trade for him and he can go in there, which I wouldn't mind. I think Zach Mettenberger would be a great option at quarterback for them. And really, you have a better chance of winning with him, an established NFL quarterback with a strong arm, and being back closer to home, with Louisiana. Oh, I don't know, Tennessee, Texas, Louisiana. Bring him back as he played at LSU. Go with the Cowboys. I think you have a good shot. Panthers beat the Texans 24-17. The Steelers with a whooping on the 49ers. Now, I thought this game would actually be close. The 49ers did a good job against Minnesota in week 1, shutting down AP, had a great defense, and it looked like with the Steelers kind of struggling and not having Le'Veon Bell, having to focus on just passing, looked like 49ers were in a good spot. That did not happen. 43-18 was your final score with the Steelers getting a huge victory, and I lost in my fantasy because the guy I played against he has to be a Pittsburgh Steelers fan because there's no way you start D'Angelo Williams at running back. But he did. D'Angelo Williams had like 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns. Antonio Brown had a touchdown and went off, or 2 touchdowns. Needless to say, I started Jeremy Hill, who gave me -4 points because of 2 fumbles and barely any rushing yards. And I started the Buffalo Bills defense. And I sat the Cleveland Browns defense. What a great job I did. The Buccaneers, Jameis Winston gets his first victory over the New Orleans Saints, 26-19. Wow, the spread on this game was 10 points in favor for New Orleans, and they lost. They lost 26-19 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers gave up 4 touchdown passes to Marcus Mariota in the first half alone, got blown out at home. And so you're thinking, all right, now they got to go on the road to New Orleans. You got Drew Brees, Brandon Coleman, that whole offense out in New Orleans. You're thinking New Orleans is going to torch them. And completely the opposite. Did not happen. The Vikings beat the Lions 26-16. The Cardinals looking like a top contender in the NFC with a 48-23 victory over the Chicago Bears. Jay Cutler is out. I don't know if they released or said when he will be back. Is there any news? I don't see anything on Jay Cutler when he will be back. The Patriots sadly beat the Bills 40-32, your final score. The Browns, Johnny Manziel, 2 long touchdown passes to Travis Benjamin, a 50-yarder and a 60-yarder to get the victory, 28-14 over the Tennessee Titans. And then you have the Atlanta Falcons on the road beating the New York Giants 24-20 because of Eli making mistakes. Also, the Redskins beating the Rams. I don't know how that happened. I'm lost. Jaguars beat the Dolphins 23-20. Another shocking victory. And another shocking victory with the Oakland Raiders defeating the Baltimore Ravens 37-33. That is it for today's show, guys. I will be back again Friday morning, the Short Sports Show. Again, we are doing this 2-week show or two shows a week with the NFL and college football season starting up, of course. Recaps and previews every week. I will see you guys then. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at @short_sports 24/7. And as always, guys, God first, God bless. I'm out. Peace.